So tell me, has your advocacy and commitment always been devoted to Jews in the Middle East and to North Africa?
No, actually, this is my last, most recent advocacy. Most of the years I spent was to work on behalf of Jews from Russia, dissidents from the former Soviet Union. And for example, I smuggled out Andrei Sakharov's acceptance speech to the Nobel Prize. I visited many families of prisoners who had been sent to the Gulag, the infamous Soviet labor camps, and I also smuggled some Bibles from San Francisco to Leningrad and Moscow for Christians. A nice Jewish girl like me, born in an Orthodox home, and smuggling Bibles sounds kind of funny, but I felt very strongly that they should have the right to exercise their religion. Of course, I worked also very hard on the release of prisoners in Argentina, who had dissidents who were against the fascist regime at the time, in Chile, against the Pinochet regime. I also helped a large number of Bosnian Muslim refugees who were made refugees during the in Bosnia, and I helped resettle them in San Francisco, and we became, of course, very close friends. And all of them were Muslims.
Well, I really don't think that there's that much of a difference when you get down to what's really important with people, and I think one of the things that I like hearing is, you know, I think self-preservation, growth, and especially tolerance are the kinds of messages that we need to get out. That's not unique to any one organization. I think a lot of people can talk the talk and would talk about, you know, in this world where everybody seems to focus on me, and what's my story and what do I deserve back, what kind of reparations, what kind of redress, how do I get my things back. I like what I've heard from you, which seems to be, and what seems to resonate with the students so much, is forgiving, but not forgetting. And I think that maybe you can talk a little bit about the role of that and what makes your organization unique and as a good role model for others.
When I first came out of Libya, and I was, of course, traumatized with having lost my home, my whole heritage, my culture, and everything that identified us, I had a really hard time forgiving. But then after a lot of work with, you know, with professional psychologists and also with good friends, I learned to forgive, and I realized that after I started forgiving the perpetrators that had tried to kill us and did what they did to us, it was I became not only a better person, but I was always I was able to move on, and realized that forgiveness and tolerance and acceptance really was the keys to ingredients to be able to move on and make a difference in this world. And this is one of the reasons why I try to tell that and preach that to as many students and young people as we can. I was in tears when I was at the United Nations and I was testifying there for the Human Rights Commission, and just before I got on the stand, a fellow from Sudan who had been made a refugee told the absolutely horrendous story of what was happening to his fellows, brothers and sisters and members of his family, that the women were being raped in those camps in Darfur, and after he told them in final and complete details with names of victims of what was happening, I heard the Human Rights Commission of the UN turn around and say, well, we believe that the Sudanese government is taking whatever precaution it needs to take care of the problem, and therefore we are pretty satisfied with that. And the people who voted for that were all of these nations, the very nations that oppressed us. Every single one of the people who were voting was all the Arab blocs, which is, every single one of the Middle Eastern countries, all of the Muslim countries, plus, of course, the new Russian countries. And because it was one country, one vote, of course they got to carry the majority. The fact that Libya is in charge of, the chair of the Human Rights Commission is not just ludicrous, it's a joke. I mean, this is the one country that oppresses its own people more than, has the worst human rights record, and they get to be up there. That comes to show you that, unfortunately, the United Nations has failed its mandate. That's why we need to be our own United Nations. We need to encourage and promote our own value and go back to this real social justice. And regardless to color or creed, that we need to work and better the life of others who are not as fortunate as we are and who do not have the freedom that we have here in Canada and the United States and Australia and many Western countries. And we have to fight for their rights because they cannot fight for themselves. We have to carry their voice. We have to carry their story.